What's going on, everybody? It is I, Alex McCarthy, in the house here, Monday Night Live on ITR Clips. I'm joined by SP3 in the house, the Daily Boys together again as a WWE tandem tonight. We're a double act. There is no Saeed Yangi, but our brother remains close. How are you going, my man? I see you got down at the wedding. That suit game was good, let me tell you.
Thank you. I was getting a little shade from my missus who said, "You don't look this nice when we go on our dates and stuff." So, yeah, I'm in trouble already, ladies and gentlemen. But no, no, it was a good time. Got to go out to see Jeremy make the big jump, looking like a handsome groom with his beautiful bride. It was a great wedding, great reception, and I met a bunch of our friends in this wrestling media world, and some that I've never met in person, so that was fun.
Wow. Let me just say this. Congratulations to Jeremy and his beautiful new bride. Jeremy is one of my... He probably won't even see this, so it's fine. I can lavish praise on him and he won't ever know. He's one of my favorite people, though. The guy is amazing at what he does, for one, in terms of running the Fightful website. But I guess what people don't know is like the little things that he like messages you, and like the little pick me ups he'll give you from time to time, and he always credits great work. He has a really good way of making his friends feel great, and he is a good friend. Which makes me very happy to see him happy. So man, I was delighted to see that. Obviously, I'm on the other side of the world, so there's only so much thanks I could give to the wedding.
Hey,
but sure,
it's okay. You lived vicariously through me. That's why I had the nice suit game, because I was trying to be the black Alex McCarthy. That's how I live every day of my life.
You were representing ITR Clips. You were Monday Night Live at the wedding.
Exactly. There was a lot of Fightful representation. There was post wrestling being represented, and then there's me, and then they're like, ITR Clips, Wrestle Talk, True Hill Heat. If they wanted to cover the wrestling spectrum, invite me, and I cover all the other slots.
Yeah, indeed. Queen Monet, what's happening?
Hey,
out of school. God, I remember being out of school. Enjoy that shit.
Best
what else we got? Safej Sekovic. That's what I've gone with. Anyway, what's going on, brother? CM, regular on the show. Delighted to see you around as well. Oh, King Vecna, man. God damn, that series is going to be hot.
Oh, it's man. Hot! Can't wait for season 5.
Oh, man, we've only got to wait 2 years. Don't worry about it.
Season 4 or season 1, if you want my pick for the best season. Season 1 or season 4?
Oh, yeah, man. That's tight.
I say season 4 because it was bigger. I love when it goes big.
So such what a great plot twist on the beginning of this show. So one, in a way, right, because it sets the table and everything's so fresh, and obviously, and the first time you see 11 with her powers is like,
yeah,
like your mind's like blown. Like I think it's season 1 where she's in the school gym and the police are in there and she just fucks them up. That's amazing. That is one of my favorite scenes of the whole show. But season 4 is just so majestically woven together, man. It's incredibly well put together. Kim Vecna says, is Louis Dangle on the show? If so, I'm turning off. Listen, he's never been on this show. I mean, look, we don't hate Louis Dangle on this show. If you do, okay. Everyone's got opinions, man, and that boy has got some. So,
Louis Dangle is about to go 4-0 in our fantasy football league. Yeah. Don't ask me how Louis Dangle got into our fantasy football league, but this man is about to be 4-0, and he's about to get a W over Sean Ross Sapp. So, shout outs to Louis Dangle.
This is very weird. Kenny Williams has had like a conversation by himself. All right, time's is over. Hey, no, Alex. Weirdo. Thanks for the zoom in pre-show before Rescue 7. Like, what the fuck are you doing here, Kenny? I don't. That's a very weird cameo, but feel free to give us 2 minutes anytime. What we're talking about today, as some of you may have seen from the title of this video is pretty much Seth Rollins. We want to, I actually, this shirt wasn't intended to be worn. I just picked up the first shirt seriously, and then when I sat down, I thought, fuck. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Seth Rollins because he just did a sit-down interview with Ariel Helwani, and there are quite a few talking points where we could really jump off and get into our thoughts on the Kingslayer, the Architect, and everything in between. The litany of nicknames that he has. But we just thought that'd be an interesting talking point. And of course, we will get into other news and some of the wrestling that we've seen for the past week. And lest we forget, it is Extreme Rules this weekend. I'm scheduled to have a chat with Liv Morgan tomorrow. Hopefully it happens. Hopefully it happens. You never know how these things go, but hopefully that goes ahead as planned, and I'll be able to share that with you guys probably on Inside the Ropes YouTube channel later this week. SB3, let's jump into Seth Rollins because I think you and I
Bound for Glory, Impact Bound for Glory as well.
All right, you can talk about that. All the respect and all, I just ain't got time. Come on. So we're going to talk about Seth Rollins here because one of the main things that jumped out to SB3 and I was his admission that he's never going to be the number one WWE guy in a Roman Reigns world, basically. Now, the important context, of course, Tyler Black and all of his accomplishments and kind of being one of the leaders of NXT before the Shield debuts. Let's check all of that at the door, right? You can also check that with the lineage of Roman Reigns, okay, and the Anoa'i family and, how he was destined for certain things and his pathway. Two very different pathways into the business, but let's talk about how they converge with Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley on the Shield. Nearly 10 years ago, I think we're only a month and a bit shy and change of their 10-year debut. I think it was quite obvious from the jump, SB3, that Roman Reigns was the guy that WWE was certainly trying to position. I know they were like a real unit for a long time, but as the group got towards its end, it became more apparent, didn't it, that Roman was the one they were showcasing, they were going to push, and they've stayed on that trajectory ever since. And now Roman, of course, is at a level that WWE wanted for a long time, but they couldn't actually get. Right? They wanted it so bad. They were telling us this is the guy, and they were going about it all the wrong way. They had the right piece. I've always said this. Ezra will back me up on this. They had the right piece all along. They were just using him the wrong way, and they were projecting him onto the fans the wrong way. Seth Rollins, on the other hand, okay, he had a great push coming out of the Shield with the heel turn and whatnot. And at various points, he has been flying from an in-ring standpoint. Flying, right? But has he ever been the poster boy that WWE were ever really looking for, a la Rock, Cena, Reigns? Even a Bryan Danielson. Incredible workers get their moment in the sun, but it's like, are they ever the guys? These are the questions, man. What did you make of Seth Rollins kind of admitting, or certainly from his perspective, that Roman Reigns will always be that guy? And, as much as he believes he could bring to the table all the things that Roman does, he realizes the WWE landscape.
Yeah, I think the interview, the portion of it that I was able to watch was probably the most genuine, sincere, and earnest that we've ever heard Seth Rollins be. I think that he's grown a lot. He's matured a lot in his career, and as a man, having a kid will do that as well, as me and Alex can attest to that. And all of those contribute to where he's at, and he can genuinely, look at his career and look at it in a honest way, the way he did during the interview. What's up, Seth? But
brother.
I totally agree with him. Seth Rollins has never been the guy. WWE, Ring of Honor, He even brought up Ring of Honor, and I like the fact that he brought it up because that reminded me that I was like, man, I've been watching Seth Rollins for 15 years. 15 years this year. I've been watching Seth Rollins work since he debuted in Ring of Honor back in 2007. So I've watched a good portion. He said he's been in the business for 2 decades. I've watched a good 15 years of that about. And yeah, he's never been the guy. I was the guy in the crowd at Ring of Honor events that was like, Seth Rollins going to be the next big thing. And my friends are telling me, nah, he's not Nigel. Nah, he's not Brian. And in WWE, when he was a part of the Shield, I was like, he's the best worker of the Shield. I was like, Ambrose is the best talker. He's the best worker. But obviously, like Alex said, we all kind of saw WWE's choosing the third guy, though. It doesn't matter how good a talker, how good a talker Ambrose in, how good a worker Rollins in. They don't have the look that Roman has, so they're gonna pick Roman. And I grew to appreciate all the things that Roman Reigns was great at. And I can genuinely say I've seen a lot of the career of all 3 members of the Shield, but yeah, it's not gonna happen for Seth Rollins, for John Moxley. I probably would be saying the same thing. It would never happen for him as well, until he had to leave the whole company and go to a whole new company. That's how he became the top guy in the business, the guy. And now for AEW, he is the guy. In 2022, I would say John Moxley is the guy this year. He was the best wrestler back in 2020 in his first run as AEW World Champion, and I think he's the best wrestler now. I think for Seth Rollins, for Tyler Black, for Kobe Lopez, for him to achieve the goal that he's always wanted to be the guy, he's got to leave WWE, and that's not going to happen. So I think that what we saw is a person that has kind of come to the realization that no, he has kind of put himself in a box that he's never going to leave WWE, because he wants to be the flag bearer. He wants to be that type of guy, but he also will never be the guy because of that.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and that's you got to remember how firmly entrenched his roots are with WWE at this point. But also, I mean, Roman is where he is now, and it's fairly an untouchable level. Like, it's one of them, where you get so over, or you're in such a position where he's pretty bulletproof, right? And it's the same thing where Seth has had many runs where people have become believers, basically, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah." I said this to you off air. There was a time where whatever Seth said rubbed people up the wrong way, right? Anything that he said on Twitter, no matter how kind of subtle, no matter how innocent, people would twist that shit, and they would be like, "Oh yeah, it's Seth Rollins," and it all kind of started with the comment with Will Ospreay that we talked about, right? That was up there. And then, because I remember when Talent were getting released, and I think he did an Instagram live, and he was, "Oh, I know it's awful. It is awful. We need to kind of band together in this time." And then people were twisting that and going, "Oh, Seth Rollins is, he's a company guy," and it's like, okay, well, yeah, he is, right? He is a company guy. We know this, but it was just one of those things where, like, if anyone else had said it, it wouldn't have been as bad. Do you know what I mean?
I think it was because he chose a time where the WWE enthusiasm in the product was lowest as possible, and AEW just came into form. I say kind of the domino that first drop was the interview in which he said he viewed John Moxley, a guy that has said nothing but good things about him since he left the company. He views him as an enemy because he's trying to take food off his table. That's when everybody was just like...
Was that character though, or was it as sincere as this one just the last week? I don't know.
But even if I saw some people that was like, "Oh, he's saying it in character," and then I saw the people replying to that was like, "Oh, well, even if it's in character, that's not a good look. It does not. It's not a good look, sir." And especially because at the time, if you're saying this in character, you're the top babyface for the company. You're the number one babyface. Why are you saying something like this? Like, you should just be like how you did in this interview with Ariel Helwani, where you were like, I'm cool with John. He's not much of a texter, but we still are very cool, chill with each other. That's fine. Why couldn't you say that back in 2019? Why did he need to be taking food off your table? Because he knew he wanted to be the guy, and he wasn't going to do it there because the person in charge never viewed him as such. And he decided that he was going to create his own path. In a lot of ways, I wish they would have mentioned this during their feud, but he chose the path that a lot of fans wish CM Punk did back in 2014. He was disgruntled with the company, but he just chose another path in the business to accomplish his goal, and he reached it. So, like, it's just like, why are you upset at him for all of that? I wish that the Seth Rollins of 2022 could have talked to the Seth Rollins of 2019, and maybe we wouldn't have had the Will Ospreay exchange. We wouldn't have the text message, the tweets when he was like, "Oh, WWE has the best wrestling product in the business." When at a time when that whole company was telling us it's not wrestling, it's sports entertainment, and then you're telling us you have the best rest. There was a lot of things in that whole year that caused the reaction from the fans. So I'm not necessarily going to be like, oh yeah, he got a hard time. He was getting, ragged on and everything, because in my eyes, I feel like a lot of the Seth Rollins fans have taken that kind of vitriol that he got in response to a lot of stupid mistakes that he made. He was getting vitriol because of that. And then the Seth Rollins fans took that to overcompensate for Seth Rollins. Like they have to make everything that he does great into the greatest thing ever.
I mean, it definitely accrued. Right, like, and again, like, there are a lot of instances, many that you just brought up that I totally get, right, and I was also there going, oh man, come on, Seth, but it definitely got to a point where it was just like a bit too much. Like they were just finding anything in anything that he said, and the whole heel turn. He's been very open about this. He's not shied from putting WWE under the bus for that. He's like, man, that wasn't my call. He still said that in this interview with Ariel as well. Like the whole Fiend thing, he's firmly laying the blame at Vince McMahon's door. Don't think he isn't. And he always has, right? And I think most of us with, I don't want to call it a working knowledge of the business, but some insight would know, yes, that is exactly what happened. Vince McMahon made the call. They had to go with it. The crowd shit on it. And then Vince had to kind of eat that. And as well, but Seth had to eat it the most. And he had to like rebuild himself from there. The year prior to that, he'd had a monumental run as Intercontinental Champion, burning the house down literally every single week. And again, like it took a lot of energy to get to that spot. But what he kept undoing the first hand, again, was his own, kind of foul pose or whatever you want to call them, like just not having a good time on social media mostly, but again, I felt like his talent always spoke louder for me, and there were a lot of people that were kind of resistant to admit how good Seth was. Now I should say, when AEW come along, right? And you got this, and don't get me wrong, many amazing wrestlers there. But I feel like people don't want to put Seth in that top bracket. Now, here's another discussion to have. He might not be the top guy in WWE. Well, he's not. We know this, right? He says it as much. Roman is the guy. But in terms of in-ring performers, right, in WWE, he absolutely is. Across the world right now, SP3, is he in the tippy top bracket?
So for reference, my tippy top bracket would be the top 5 best wrestlers in the world. I don't have Seth Rollins in that.
Who do you have then?
I don't even have Seth Rollins as my only WWE guy in this, because I would argue that, well, I mean, 2022, I would say Seth is the in-ring MVP because of the series with Cody, the matches with Riddle, even that banger tag match with him and Owens versus Rated R, RK Bro and Alpha Academy were great on Monday Night Raw, just weekly.
He was good. He was good last year too, man. The trilogy with Edge.
Oh yeah. Most definitely.
Had a run.
Most definitely. That's when I felt like the Seth fans were overcompensating. First, I started overcompensating because I thought it was great stuff, and I was complimenting it and praising it, and then I just heard people like overly praising it. I was just like,
he's the best.
Yeah,
he's the best.
Okay, let's relax. But I think right now, objectively speaking, Will Ospreay is better. Just Will Ospreay just churns out more more quality matches, whether it's in New Japan on the independent scene. I would say Gunther is the best bout machine in WWE. He doesn't get the opportunities, but I mean, if Seth's gonna have 7 matches, I think Seth is gonna have 5. If he's gonna have 5 great ones in that. But
You could
Gunther is gonna have
Gunther.
7 great matches if he has 7 matches. If he has
Is
7 matches on
Is he
pay-per-view, yes.
No, on pay-per-view, yes, that's the distinction you just made. But if he had to work the volume that Seth does, I might argue that Gunther's style and character is more protected. He has had like a lot of classics, but is again, it's what criteria is, right? Like a Will Ospreay, he's churning out classic. Again, just going by what you just said, the Will Ospreay criteria is that he's banging them out, right?
Yeah,
a bagger after bagger, right? Whereas Gunther is not that, right? And not that he can't, but if we're going by that blueprint, that's not really the way he's been utilized.
But
so I understand.
This is the difference. If I'm gonna dissect this is the difference. Seth and Will are like, if you're watching baseball, this might be a bad term because I know a lot of people from the UK are watching this. But if you're watching baseball, there are hitters that are going to play all 162 games, right? And they're going to, you got Aaron Judge out here for the Yankees, who's having a great year. He just hit his 60th home run. He just tied 61st home run, tied the American League record. He's performing 162 games, whereas the starting pitcher gets 5 days off. He's only going to start about 60 games out of those 162. Gunther is the starting pitcher. So he's the best starting pitcher out there. He's not playing as many games as Seth or Will, but he is putting out the amount of quality that Seth and Will is in the amount of times that he wrestles.
I mean, you'll get, again, let me be very clear. You'll get no argument to me about the quality of Gunther. I think I've been very vocal down the years about just what I think about him. I'm just trying to develop a rationale here for the top 5. So please continue.
So, Gunther, Will, John Moxley. I'm sorry. Yeah, Moxley's another one. And this is the reason for Will and John, I would say, it's higher than anyone is because they're not just doing it for one company. They're doing it for multiple companies, so that actually elevates their impact on the entire industry because of the quality of work they're doing in multiple different companies. So those 3 definitely I would have ahead of Seth. Okada I would have ahead of Seth, especially this year he's been killing it as well.
Would you?
I think then you could probably argue. I would say Seth Rollins is on the same level. He's a fringe top 5 type of guy, so you can argue. Of course, anyone could argue he's in that type of echelon. But to me, I prefer guys like Zack Sabre Jr. over him. I prefer a guy like a Kenny Omega when he's healthy over him.
Kenny's a good argument. Kenny is a good argument. I mean, and again, there are a few of those. But I mean, if we were just like, let's say we took it over a 2-year span, right? From the start of 2021, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I was to do that, so, and again, that allows Kenny to be in there, right? Because he's...
Yeah. I forgot. Rollins definitely not my top 5 because Bryan Danielson still wrestles.
Right. This is what I'm getting at. There are people in there.
Bryan Danielson is in a lot of ways, he's a miniature Gunther. He's the Gunther for AEW. He doesn't go wrestle a lot of times, but every time he wrestles, it's going to be a great one.
Yeah. So for me, to be very clear, like, so SP3 has a wider palette than mine. And I've been very open about this in the sense that I have always, when covering wrestling as like a beat reporter, as I used to, I obviously had to watch as much as possible, and I would make sure that I kept up to date with it. Now I literally do just really watch WWE and AEW, right? So my list is obviously more North American skewed, and he does make it. But again, I can't. Yeah, if I was to go by bodies of work and we were to sit here and really, really like break it down and get into it, then I realized that it'd be very hard to make the argument. And everyone that you've mentioned, I know. I mean, I would have him ahead of a Zack Sabre Jr. But yeah, I like watching Zack Sabre Jr., but I've had more, I guess, emotion watching Seth. But again, you could attribute that to many things. I would have Seth ahead of Gunther, and again, for the reasons I explained earlier. If we were just going over like a time span and the body of work in that, although I will say I've never seen a bad Gunther match. I'm sure there are some out there. Don't know where, but I haven't seen them. Man, there are a ton of guys, and then again, like I'm doing my best now to try and actually adhere to some kind of criteria, which is not easy because the first thing you want to think about best or your top 5 are your favorites. And I've got loads like that. Like a Pete Dunne is very close in my top 5. If we were to go back in a few years, not necessarily Butch, but at the same time, as a worker, I think Pete Dunne, his style is among my absolute favorites, which is also why Bryan Danielson will always be in my top 5. I just fucking love watching that guy wrestle. He's incredible, right? Same reason I always liked Benoit, the wrestler. And like that kind of lineage, like Dynamite Kid, those are like my kind of wrestlers. The Kurt Angles as well that mesh so well with them are my kind of wrestlers. And when you look at that today, like Bryan Danielson he's the one. And I've only watched Kenny Omega on a regular basis since AEW formed. I had seen Kenny Omega matches, same way I'd seen, Ricochet and Ospreay before big places, because I'd seen the big matches that people talked about. Like I still remember everyone telling me to watch Ricochet Ospreay. Everyone telling me to watch it because you had all those old timers on Twitter going, "Oh, it's killing the business," and all this stuff. And I had heard of both of them. Obviously, heard of Ospreay, and I believe Prince Puma was a thing back then. He'd already been Prince
Lucha
Puma.
Underground.
Yeah. Oh, so I loved the first 2 seasons of Lucha Underground. First season more so, but anyway, I was aware, right, of who they were. But again, I went out of my way to watch them. Omega in AEW is my first real sample size of him. And to learn that he's been really badly hurt for about half of it is staggering, because I just thought he was absolutely having an incredible run prior to dropping the title. So I say all of that to say this. For me, and my personal taste, I would have Rollins in the top 5. And again, let's concentrate this argument one more time, SP3. In the past 2 years, and there's a reason I'm using that sample size, who's been better in ring, Rollins or Reigns?
It's definitely Rollins. Because I would say that from SummerSlam 2021 up until the Matt Riddle match this year in like, what was that, June? Roman Reigns didn't have a great match. I know some people say the Rollins match was great, but the finish drops it off. It's a very good match. It's a very good match.
It was really
well on its way to being great, and then they ruined it with the finish. But truly great matches, Roman didn't have one from beating Cena all the way up until facing Matt Riddle on an episode of SmackDown in June on one-on-one matches, because I did think the WrestleMania Backlash 6-man was great. But truly great matches. He had good ones with Rollins. He had a good one with Big E. Me and Alex was there live for that one. That was good. He had good ones, but truly great matches. And while that was happening in that same stretch, Seth had his feud with Edge. He had banger tag team. No. That was actually the Cody stretch. Yeah, that was after. Yeah, that was pretty much in that stretch as well. The Cody series, but just random. You could pick a random episode of Raw. He faced AJ Styles in a really good matchup. He had the tag team matches when he was teaming with Kevin Owens that were really good against RK Bro. So like, yeah, he was just consistently delivering. So if I had to say who out of the top guys in WWE was putting out the best work, if it was just who's the best workers in WWE, Seth Rollins is definitely in the top 5. I would say top 3.
And it's cool because you look at what you just said about Roman there, and I agree. I think I've said this before. I think the Jey Uso story is probably the apex of the Tribal Chief character, which is something, right? Because it's been going, and I loved the Bloodline mainly the Sammy injection has really, upped my enthusiasm again. But when that story was unfolding with Jay, oh man, it was red hot, right? Like, because it's one of those rare instances where it had so many possibilities that it actually went the way that you kind of like. I say you hope. I wanted Jay and Roman to align and create this super stable, which they did. But then it just has been that they're loyal servants ever since, right? Where it's like from there, it's just Roman conquering people, and he's had good matches. Like the Kevin Owens series was really good.
Yeah.
And again,
Cesaro at WrestleMania Backlash.
Yeah, exactly. He's
The-
had good
the-
matches.
the
The last
Bryan-
one with Lesnar was his best one.
The final Bryan match too. The final
the one
Bryan
that sent
match
him
last
packing
night.
on SmackDown. Yeah. That was a good one, man. Like he's had like kind of great matches, but I guess if we're talking like legacy matches, like things that people will look back on a career and go, oh, yeah, you could argue that Rollins has had more over the past few, couple of years, I guess. But again, like Roman is where he is, and his matches mean more. And I think it's interesting when you say about the Rollins matchup, because again, I was watching that going like, this is so good. Like the story behind it was really great, like in his head, and he'd never beaten him kind of thing. And then he comes out with the Shield get up, and everyone was like, oh my God. And then the action was amazing. Everyone's going, this is good. What are they going to do though? Because are they going to take it off Roman? Or and then of course they did what they did. And I feel like the Drew McIntyre match at Clash of the Castle was very similar. That is a great matchup. Like again, like a one you put on your legacy CV, but again, the finish left people a bit like, you almost would have done. I don't know.
I wouldn't go as far as to say it wasn't great because of the finish. It didn't let me down. I think it was close to like a 5-star perfect.
I'm just
WWE.
speaking.
No, but
like being in the arena.
No, I definitely understand the people that say that. If you were like emotionally invested in that definitely like let you down. But I think the quality of work those two guys had was on a very high level, and that's what I said. I said up until he had the match with Riddle, because he has the match with Riddle, I think, in like the end of June, and then he has that great match with Brock at SummerSlam, has the great match with Drew. So, like, yeah, he's had great matches since the Riddle matchup, but before the Riddle matchup, and since Cena at SummerSlam, he had the Crown Jewel matchup with Brock. That was fine. It was good. It was good. He had a good matchup with Big E at Survivor Series, but that's it. That's it for the rest of 2021. And then this year, he had a good match on the verge of being great at Royal Rumble with Seth Rollins, Goldberg at Elimination Chamber, Brock at WrestleMania. None of those were really that good or that memorable. And then he had a great 6-man tag, but singles matches, it wasn't until Riddle that he really picked it back up again.
Yeah, speaking as someone who was at Mania, it just didn't hit. I mean, that's funny enough. That was the tagline, right? It was like, it just hits different. The 2K game. It just didn't hit the way you'd hope the main event would, right? Like you would have hoped maybe the SummerSlam match they gave you at Mania. And when you actually compare that next to what Cody and Seth did, it's not a competition, I'm afraid. And I know that like you could sit there and make arguments, right? You could go, oh well, Seth couldn't really miss because Cody was coming back and it was such a big deal. But like what they actually did in between the ropes was a great match to have cold, like pretty much cold. Seth just done all the build up, and people were like half assuming that it was going to be Cody, but nobody knew. So that would be one thing I would definitely say about the WrestleMania stretch of that. Let's have a chat here with Tom's Talk Rubbish. Thank you for your donation, man. That's a very generous one. Quick shout to everyone at Inside the Ropes for all the help at the Regal Show on Sunday, especially Kenny and Fee for making everything accessible for my wheelchair and asking Regal to come off stage for an autograph photo in Manchester. Tom.
Very nice.
I am delighted for you, brother, that you got to meet the esteemed Lord Steven Regal. And I hear he was in cracking form in the Inside the Ropes tour. I know Kenny and the gang are just recovering, and RVD is imminent. But man, so good to see Regal back home having fun with the fans, and you guys having fun. more than that. Damn, I've spoken to Regal before, man. He can talk.
Did he ask you? Did he ask you to be his Rice Krispie treat and snap, crackle, and pop in his mouth?
No, he didn't. But then I don't wear a mask, so these
man in the mouse. You schruffle.
I like that Regal's just taken on this like British androgynous character. It doesn't matter, right? Like that's his thing. Like, well, I'm British. It's like, well, that's not really how we get.
He literally said that on commentary. He's like, I'm an eccentric British man. I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's how we get down, really, Regal. But we are now. Like, fine. All right. Let's have a quick talk about Extreme Rules this weekend. What's interesting about this card is that in terms of like what they were last year, we really didn't have any kind of gimmick matches. It seemed like they were walking away from that. Vince, as I've said many times, was putting very little effort into these namesake shows. Right, like even Hell in the Cell, like, we'll have one at the beginning, one at the end, but it wasn't really the banner feud, or it's just fucking Vince. But I mean, I got to say, I look at the card. There's a lot for me to get excited about. I mean, I don't know if they have a true main event. Like, there's a lot of great matches there, is what I'm saying. But
they got a true main event.
What is it then?
It's got to be the Fight Pit, especially now.
Yeah, but
we just was talking about Seth and the fact that Ariel Helwani announces that UFC Hall of Famer, former UFC heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier is going to be the referee for the fight.
Daniel who?
Cormier.
Don't you? No, it's Cormier. Come on, man.
Cormier.
Come on, bro.
I say it how it's spelled, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, not him being in the in that matchup as the special guest referee, and especially with the feud they've already established with Riddle and Rollins, feeling like the most personal one going into the show. I think that it has to be the main event, and especially with the Fight Pit structure, it just makes sense that that's the main event.
Yeah, I guess you know what I'm trying to say though. They haven't got like, I'm not saying that you have to have Reigns to have a main event, but like if the world title's on the line, it's just a bit to me. That's just how I feel, right? It's like it's not as special. I think the world title should be on a pay-per-view, personally. But still, Edge and Balor in an I Quit match, yes, fucking please, I'll take some of that. Thank you very much. I've wanted to see Edge and Balor for a long time. I suspect this one's going to be chock full of shenanigans. Is the only problem. Yeah, so I'm not going to get the Edge and Balor that I maybe always dreamt of. Is maybe the issue here.
I don't know about the stipulation choice on that one, because Balor needs to win this matchup, and you can already tell it's going to be some shenanigans for him to win a I Quit match. So it's just like
shenanigans.
I don't know.
Shenanigans afoot.
I don't know about that choice. I'll be honest. I don't know about a lot of the choices. I like that they have gone back to making every match a stipulation. I just don't think they picked the best stipulation for all these matches. And the ones that stood out the most.
Hang on. Are you trying to tell me you don't want a good old fashioned Donnybrook match?
I mean, that name. Why do they think that's good? Why do they think that's good? That's a good name. Oh my god! Just call it a no DQ 6-man tag for. Sure. That's gonna be great. But more for me, it's the Bayley and Bianca. I would have made that the I Quit match, because that was the match they were supposed to have. If you're going to make a shenanigans-filled finish to an I Quit match, might as well have made it Bianca and Bayley, because that was the match they were supposed to have last year. And that would have made more sense to me. And the ladder match, and especially just making it a ladder match, I understand it's something that Bayley wanted to do, but that kind of feels like the blow off to the feud, not the first match in this new feud. I know it's a continuation really of what happened last year, but nah, it's really a new feud, because it's the new stable. It's the stable trying to get dominant over Bianca Belair. It's a new feud, and this is the first match of the feud, and it's a stipulation match. I understand a ladder match does protect Bianca, because I think Bayley is gonna win, but too short.
We can agree it's newish feud ish. I think the latter is by design. It's it is a way that Bailey can beat Bianca. She doesn't have to be pinned. Blah blah blah. If you do I quit with Bianca and she has to somehow say she quits, I think the latter is more protective. I guess it leads me to believe that Bailey has a good chance of winning. That they've done that, and I do think she has a good chance as well because I do think they'll get behind that stable. Edge and Balor, man, that's tough. But I will tell you this. From Queen Monet. I love this shout. If we get Rhea choking out Beth to get Edge to quit, now listen, that's how we get somewhere. I'd be very, very much in favor of this.
I kind of feel like it's gonna be telegraphed though, because as soon as you see a backstage segment with Edge and Beth showed up at the, I was like, there's the finish. Where's the finish? Seth Rollins. I feel like that's gonna be telegraphed. Like if they would have made it kind of like a consistent thing or created a story of it, like after the Toronto show, if we would have saw like the next time we see Edge, he shows up in the building with Beth. Nothing happens with Beth, but you just establishing that he shows up to every show with Beth, then that would be great. I would love to see it. I'm not saying that I would love to see it, but I feel like it will be telegraphed when they could have made the steps to not make it telegraphed.
Yeah, I mean, we might be calling it early as well. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they. I don't know when you.
I wouldn't be surprised. They don't like Judgment Day on pay-per-view. They're 0-2 under Triple H. That's all I know.
But Finn Balor's this guy. Lest we forget. Let's have a look what else on the card. We've got Drew and Karrion Kross. Now, I spoke to Drew the other day, man. That boy was sick last week. Those reports were very true. He was sick as hell. Apparently, he had an IV after SmackDown. Man was really sick, which I find incredible. Like, because until I saw the reports, I didn't know, right? Like, how do you get yourself up for that?
So we blaming Scarlett and Karrion for that segment messing up.
Yeah.
Because Drew was sick.
Listen, Drew gets a pass. He was really sick. I mean, I'm British, but he gets a pass. So again, that's a strap match, which is... I've said this many times. It's... Not many times. We don't talk about strap matches all the time.
Strap match every day. We talk about strap matches every week on Monday Night Live.
Fetch my strap. It's hard to have a good strap match, man. There aren't many. There's a very small list of good strap matches, but there's hardly any in recent memory, which can work for or against the concept. You think there's a lot?
I like the Fiend versus Daniel Bryan at Royal Rumble 2020. That was the best match the Fiend had. Don't.
Well, yeah, but come on.
I know that's not a high bar.
Yeah,
I know that's
not
a high bar, but Daniel Bryan did his thing. Sting versus Vader in Super Brawl 1992. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Savio Vega from Beware of Dog 1996. There's been some great ones.
Would you have Rock and Triple H up there?
Fully Loaded 1999?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that match.
It was a good match. Very good.
I love any Triple H Rock match.
So do I, though.
I'll be honest.
So do I.
I am biased.
In fact, I should never have opened that can of worms.
That's what I was going to say. That reminds me what I was going to say about Rollins in our first segment. I think he's now accepting and he's fine with the fact that he's the Savage to Roman's Hogan.
Yeah. He's
the Edge to his Cena, and he's really the Triple H to his Rock, like in a lot of ways. Because even when you said it, it reminded me another way that he's the Triple H. Name all his nicknames. That's how many Triple H got too. King of Kings, Cerebral Assassin, the Game, the Architect, the Visionary.
You got to say as well. Let's just talk timelines here. It took Rollins 10 years to accept this from WWE debut. Took Triple H about the same, right? He never
wait.
Hang on. Bear with me, right? He did not want to accept he was number 2 to Rock. He did not want to accept that turn of millennium. He still believed he was the guy. He had his run 2002, 2003, even into 2004. It wasn't until, those years that he then started to pass over to the guys. He did not want to believe he wasn't the number 1 pick. I'm telling you that. He did not want to believe that. And I think that was the same with Seth, that competitive kind of rivalry. But, Triple H obviously maybe a bit more nefarious than Seth. But around that, when they were competing for that number 1 spot, when Austin went down and that, Triple H believed he could be. I think it ate him alive. This is just me, riffing. It ate him alive how much the people loved The Rock and how over those people were. That's just my thought.
I mean, basically what we're trying to say is Triple H is better than Seth Rollins because he chose to marry someone that helped him get to the main event of WrestleMania, while Seth married someone that prevented him from the main event of WrestleMania.
For real. Just a quick sidebar. You don't think Triple H makes it to the top without getting married?
Get married to Stephanie? Does he get to the role he's in now? No.
No. Not what I asked. To the top.
Does he have the reign of terror?
Yes. Yeah.
No. If he's not,
really,
if he's not in a relationship with Stephanie McMahon, they don't do that.
I don't know.
They don't do that.
He was. I don't know if I can go with that. Like with the reign of terror, maybe not. But like.
Reign of Terror. You have to realize
Turn of the Millennium.
Yeah.
Was he not the best, or he's certainly getting the biggest reactions of the heel in the business?
He was 2000 into 2001. He was the biggest heel in WWE.
There you go.
He's one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest heels of all time. But
he still would have been a top
literally, if you go back and watch Monday Night Raw from September 2002 to WrestleMania 21, 3 years later, this man was convincing fans he's the number 1 guy.
That's what I was just saying. That's what I was saying.
Guy. He was hell bent. He literally destroyed careers. He literally. But Booker T was able to recover his because of the King of the Ring. But I'll never forgive him for that. Scott Steiner got one of the biggest reactions in Madison Square Garden history at Survivor Series 2002. He wasn't in the greatest shape, but he was against someone that didn't want to work with him. So that's why he was ruined.
I was about to say, so those unaware, like Scott Steiner had a litany of injury issues around this time when he came back. But I think even a healthy, fully fit Scott Steiner, he weren't winning that feud. So,
No. And Nightbot is promoting, the Rob Van Dam's working with Inside.
Rob Van
Dam was one of the other victims of the Reign of Terror because he was over like Rover at the end of 2002. And if Triple H would have just let the guy that's over win, he could have became a bigger star way before he was smoking pot with Sabu on a highway.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you lived through it, you'll understand. But the fact that it took till 2006 for Van Dam to get the world title is mental. Like in 2001, when he first got there, he was super over. He got super over super quick, right? Yeah. And they had him partner with Austin. We're going off on a tangent here, but still, it's just another example of where like WWE go, you wait your turn, mate. We're not rushing to do that. The Booker one is still the biggest crime. But my argument was this: is Triple H would have been a top heel regardless, in my opinion. Whether he's a 15, whatever he ended up, 15-time champion or not, up for debate.
Yeah.
He ends up a top heel.
Top heel. I just don't think he would have the run where he was considered the guy. And then all the years after that, where he was this invincible babyface, I don't think you would have been doing that unless he is married to the boss's daughter. That's just me. And I would argue Booker T is the most egregious victim, but the biggest victim, actually, Randy Orton. I think Randy Orton, his career would have panned out differently if they just would have just let him be a heel. Even him winning the title, I necessarily don't think he should have won the title when he did in 2004, because I don't think he was mature enough for that spot. No. But he literally only got that spot because Triple H ran out of babyface opponents. He literally just was like, put the title on Orton, turn him baby. I'm gonna make sure he gets over as a babyface, and he failed. And that put Orton's career back a year. It took a year away from him.
I don't know many people that would have succeeded in that. Like Orton should, like you said, that it was a flawed idea from the start. We love to do that on this show, by the way, take a trip down memory lane. But that's the thing. Like, okay, Orton would recover with the Legend Killer and all of that. But still, the Booker one, and I say this all the time. Okay, Booker has a rap among, I guess, this generation, right? He says some outlandish shit. We know this. When I tell you in 2002, 2003, how over this guy was at one point, I don't think people, like, if you weren't there, they don't realize he was super over coming out of the thing with Goldust, right? Super over. And again, the feud with Austin as well at the end of 2001. And he was just too entertaining to not like. And it was so organic the way they got there. I still can't believe they didn't do it. I really can't. But again, we could have that conversation every day. Right, man, let's begin to wind down here. Before we go, a couple of quick predictions. In the fight pit, who are you going with, Rollins or Riddle? Rollins is one up, remember.
Gotta go with Riddle. I think it's kind of tailor-made
to the trilogy.
For Riddle to win this one, especially because they're calling it his match, and the only time he's had this match, he lost. I think it's appropriate that he wins this one.
Yeah, whatever happened to the guy that beat him, eh?
He's in Pro Wrestling Noah. Go over and check it out.
Fucking love Tim Thatcher. I'm really gutted that him and Ciampa didn't. Never mind. I'm not going off on another tangent. What about Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey? This is, again, they put themselves in a tough spot here. This is an Extreme Rules matchup, which means if I had to guess, shenanigans are afoot once again, and somebody's going to cost Rousey. I assume.
Having a little prayer right now. I'm trying to talk to God right now.
Maybe
like, God, my name is Billy, and please don't let Liv Morgan retain the SmackDown Women's Championship because Papa H doesn't really like her that much and isn't doing much to recover the. I didn't think we would be this soon into the Triple H run where there's a glaring person that Vince McMahon booked better than Triple H. And I think Liv Morgan is that person. Unfortunately, I know we don't like to say good things about Vince, and we're loving the Triple H era because I get to enjoy 3 hours of Raw now. So I'm loving it. But this is the glaring hole and the reason why SmackDown just isn't too much up to snuff with Monday Night Raw, because the glaring hole is you got this whole woman situation you got to fix up. So fix it up. Go in the right direction, put the title on Ronda. I think the only way Ronda loses is if Charlotte comes back and costs her the
win. I agree with that in many ways. I would love to see them have direction for Liv, but like the fact that she can't kind of shake Rousey, just it's tough for me to buy that she's going to get a good win over her to cement her. It's very tough to buy. I'll ask her tomorrow. What have we got here? And finally, White Rabbit, DJ Duke. Do you think we see that this Sunday, SP3?
I'm hoping, because I'm done with the same people.
It has been good the way they've done it, though.
But the same people who go on social media and are all upset that Mance Warner is versing Jon Moxley because they can't Google Mance Warner on the internet. They can go on and do this complete investigation of these White Rabbit videos, and I'm just like, just reveal it. I literally had Dutch Mantel on Friday tell me he's over it. He was like, it didn't come last week. I'm over it. So for the older people, I think that older people are getting fed up with it. The younger fans are probably enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it. I'm somewhat in the middle age, I guess you could say. So I'm enjoying the mystery of it all, but I'm also at that point where I'm just like hearing the buzz and seeing how people reacting to it. I'm like, we can get to it anytime. We can get to it at any point. So yeah, Extreme Rules sounds like the perfect point.
Man, well, we're going to wind down here on Monday Night Live on ITR Clips. Inside your ropes is your hookup. William Regal has been and gone, but Rob Van Dam is your next hookup. He comes to London this week. Wednesday, I believe he's in London. you can catch us next Monday, of course, 8 p.m. usual time here on ITR Clips. Like, share, subscribe, help your guys out. We appreciate all of the support. Thank you for your donations tonight. Tom Talks Rubbish. SB3, where can the fine people who watch this show find you next week?
You can find me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. You can find me on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, TruHeel. Yeah, and I'm over there on probably sometime this week for Extreme Rules preview. We also got on Thursday our AEW Dynamite review, and then always on Saturdays, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time, the True Hill Heat Flagship Podcast.
The flagship. You heard the man. We're going to be back next week with Kenny McIntosh. He's going to be in the house after his touring ways with the Inside the Ropes live show. So you'll be able to see us three next Monday, 8 p.m. We look forward to it. We will see you later. Bye-bye.